No, tell me the story. You want to tell me?
Remember when we were at the Branson Center? Ne? The thing about the Branson Center that I remember the most was around lunchtime. I'm like, lunchtime, ne? Chips or transport to come back tomorrow. I must make that choice, right? And then there's also that moment where you're like, hey, I have to go because I have to cross the Mandela Bridge. Before sunset, after school is after school at the Mandela Bridge. So that's when it's like struggle.
Do you remember which year this is? 15? 14?
15, 16.
15, 16.
Must be, I think it was beginning of 16.
Yeah, and I think I remember meeting you at that time. It was just like a whole bunch of people who were trying to build things in this one place.
Yeah.
And you got to see it in the most realist form. I think that was my first like, people can dedicate themselves to building things.
Yeah.
Rather than, the other paths that have been presented.
So
because they don't get presented as openly as that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many other paths. And it's a desk. It was like a desk like this, obviously longer. So I'm sitting here, somebody's sitting there, somebody's sitting there. Yeah. And Branson Center had the laptops. I had to sell my laptop. No one really spoke about those things at that time, that you've got a laptop. I had a laptop, maybe like 4,000 rands worth of laptop. I had to sell it, I had to sell it at cash converters, these places, so that I can have food, so that I can pay rent, and so that I can have transport. So therefore, the only place that really had that was the Branson Center. To be honest with you, that place was revolutionary, man. It was the most enabling space for startups I can ever imagine. You could ever imagine. They not just laptops, because laptops are expensive. If you're starting a business, and you don't have a laptop, where are you starting? And if you are black and you are from like a seriously disadvantaged background, laptop is expensive. You can't just wake up and buy a laptop. The Branson Center not just gives you a laptop to send emails, but also free coffee. You don't get that anymore.
Coffee, Wi-Fi, and a comfortable place just to like figure things out. And people underestimate like what that early version of like the ecosystem looked like and felt like. It was just like
so different. It was so different. There was less fluff. There was more like people actually building stuff. That place was revolutionary. It was so sad to see that place go the way that it went, because it enabled a lot of things. So many of us that are sitting here. I was talking to Randy 2 weeks ago. She's one of the people that came to join us. Lebu, the hookup dinner guys. They've done such great things outside of that space. So it's such a shame that those kind of spaces don't exist anymore. The startup ecosystem has changed. And I think now it's almost like everyone has just got this attitude of each man to himself. I think COVID did that to us as a society. Sort of made us have a sense of each man to himself. So even the programs that are there supporting entrepreneurs are very, you're not figuring it out. We're not going to help you figure that out. You want our money back, or we're going to give you
Where's your traction?
Where's your traction? How are you going to scale? What's your scalability path? What's your sustainability path? It's great. I think those are all good metrics and good stuff to do. But if you don't have bread, scalability becomes, if you don't have coffee, the power of coffee, you wake up, like you're working and around 11, just need some sugar, go outside, get coffee. On Wednesdays, they used to have classes Wednesdays and Thursdays, and all the leftover lunch, go and eat. That's how we built the community. But now it's very different now. It's hard. Each man to himself now, I suppose. But I guess it's also in a different space as a society.
Yeah. When you think back at like those early days and, you were figuring things out, right? Like, I have this great idea. I'm trying to find the right people to help me be able to bring it to life. How important have people been, and spaces as well? So you're mentioning the Branson Center, but like there's the Branson Center, there's the Red Bull Amapigo program, there's all these further where people and spaces become the base where entrepreneurship can happen. How important has that been for you?
Yeah, because also with COVID again, they made entrepreneurship a lonely journey, even more lonely, because people were confined into their homes. So in those early days, when I look back at the early days, it was a community for me. Like, it was people, and I think the important thing about people is that we actually don't realize just how much we give off as we are doing that, how much of ourselves we give off as we're doing it, until we no longer are around people. They don't really see just how impactful people are. So in the early days, I remember specifically talking to someone about an idea that I had. Because when I started, my idea was I was going to build a filter, and this filter was going to be used like in someone's tap. And someone said to me, hey, I've got this guy who's doing fish. He's doing like a fish, what's his name? Bunoko, something like that. Yeah, Bunoko is doing like the foundation. It's like, no, I've got this guy that is doing fish. You must go see him. I'll introduce you to him. It was because of that. We're just standing and talking. When I met with the guy, he was doing this filtration systems, and it was like some cool, very interesting filtration system. And that's when I was like, oh, shit, I don't need to build this stuff. I don't need to build this thing because it's already existing. I can iterate it for other purposes. It was exactly out of that. It was out of just the community. And the community was very enabling. It's still enabling. What you also realize at the time is that you as a being, like you're the total sum of the things that make you, all of those things combined with other people, what makes them, the community, what all the things that you feed off each other is what makes the ecosystem works. And hence, such a thing as Silicon Valley exists, because it's just around the concept of you're going to have this ecosystem that you create around people. What I learned early on was the relationships that you build in that thing, and the person that you become is what will determine everything else, not your idea. The idea will evolve, not your product that will evolve over time, but your sense of self, your being, your total being, that's all fed by the community. In Black society, we practiced that so well, because in where I grew up, if back then, if I'm misbehaving as a kid, my neighbor was allowed to discipline me, and that was sort of part of that. Yeah. So
yeah, and you started with the water taps as an idea, and then you meet this person, you iterate, go, okay, we can actually work differently.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the process of developing prototypes, but also the sort of support you need to get to a product enough that you can go to market and like start to figure it out as a business?
Yeah. And I think at the time, the lean startup model was like huge at the time. It was the mainstream at the time. And I think we were lucky that we got to sort of live around those times of the lean startup movement, the 0 to 1 startup movement. So what happened to me, so I come from a technical background. So I used to work in public sector. So I worked at Johannesburg Water as a technician. So when you come from a technical background, you come with biases, stuff that's already built in. So you can't build an enterprise with biases. So you have to come with big sense, with ignorance. So early stage, I thought I was under the impression that people needed filters. I realized at the time when I was building a filter that people don't actually need filters. People need clean water. It's the thing that people need. Filter is an enabler for that. So I started building filters, but it was taking so long to build a filter, and it was going to be so expensive to build a filter, and who was going to buy this thing? So first part of my job was to design something that I felt would be something that people that needed the solution to a problem of access to clean water needed. And at the time I thought it was a filter. But I realized that, so my thinking or my assumption when I started was about 1 billion people don't have access to clean drinking water in the world. And my thinking was, at the time I was working at a municipality, providing water to the high income communities. So I worked both in City of Cape Town and Johannesburg Water. So my assumption was, okay, so what happens in those communities where there's no clean water? So the lean startup model, which I had learned at the time, I had no idea about it when I was still, employed. The lean startup methodology and this human-centered design, I learned human-centered design at the same time. I think it must have been one of those foundation courses that we did. That helped a lot, because then I was like, oh, okay, people actually need water first. That's the thing that they actually need. And people travel to get water. There's a cost associated. There's the emotions associated. There's economic associated. There's a lot of associations with that. But people don't need it as a filter. So the filter, to some parts of society, filter might be needed. But people that I'm solving the problem for don't need a filter. People that need clean water. They need clean water as close as possible to their homes. So I built the first one. Probably took about 6 months to build, 6 to 8 months to build. And it wasn't really a functional thing. I completely ran out of money. That's when I sold my laptop. And then I had to start from scratch. Started selling socks, as you always make fun of me as well. Completely ran out of money. I had to move out of my place that I stayed in. I stayed with a friend. He got married, so he moved out, so I couldn't afford the rent. So then the second part was, okay, what is it that we can build to solve the problem? Because I think for me, it was like, there's a problem that exists in this. And I see it every day. I used to see it growing up. Maybe the filter is not the solution, but what is that we can do that is lean, that I can build fast, like a minimum viable product. So then the next natural step was, okay, to build a system that can allow for those communities to get water at a much more faster or at a rapid rate. Then that's when we started building a medium-sized filter, which is exactly where we are even now. So since for the last 5 years or 6 years, this filter that we've got is exactly the same mechanism, exactly the same functionality. It looks better. It's much better installed. It's got better bells and whistles, but it's the same product. So first iteration, we got a thing from the Gibbs Festival of Ideas, won that prize, which was 23,000 rands, felt like a lot of money. Built the first prototype, it was in a bucket, it worked. Immediately after that, I got the Innovation Hub. Yeah, Innovation Hub. Innovation Hub is the Department of Science and Innovation. Then we got a big grant. For the time, big grant, which was 600,000 rands. It was a lot of money. And that grant was to ensure that we can file the patents. We can actually build a functioning product. So 2017, October, that's when we launched this product that we've got now into a community that needed the water. So we built the systems. So built the filter. The filter, yes, is there, but the filter is a part of a system that collects water, purifies the water, and distributes the water to a community that needs the water. And then from that point onwards, we're working on systems, building the systems that allow for communities to have clean water. And in between then and now, there's the ups and downs. Unlike in the States, you can have something that works. It's not easy to get to build a product. It works great, and then within a few months, a few years, like in the States, then you raise $1 million. That's just not possible. That wasn't possible. It's possible now, but it's not easy. So then you keep going through the cycle of getting 300,000 rands grant, 400,000 rands grant to try and commercialize it, because then also you still need to commercialize this product.
Can you speak to the power and impact of grants? I think there's a misconception around it where maybe people don't respect it enough as a form of raising funding for the thing that you're building. Can you speak about those?
Yeah, so there's a shame, obviously, that's attached to the grant merchants, that's as they're called. But the truth is that so many entrepreneurs, most of the entrepreneurs, it's hard to raise $1 million. Like it sounds easier, especially for people. The enterprise practitioners, the ones that are working for corporates, they think it's easy. And these are the guys that shame grants, right? A lot of the guys that are not actually building the stuff here on the ground with us, they shame grants. Like, no, why don't you just get commercial funding? It's not easy. There's a lot of things, collateral, all these things that are attached to it, and also scale and all these things that we, as Black people, still need to work on our relationship with money and psychology of money for us as Black people, right? So grant funding represents a low-hanging fruit for a lot of entrepreneurs. Oftentimes, you need your well-beings to be covered. You need rent to be covered, first and foremost. Obviously, you need your salaries to be covered. And what grants do, especially in our society of supply and enterprise development, what the grants do is to allow you to have like quick, sort of easy, low-hanging fruit to allow you to build. As an example for us, between 2016 and 2019, we probably received, I want to say 3 million rands in grants, maybe 4 million rands in grants, right? And these are enterprise development grants, government grants to build the product. I am not ashamed of that. We've built a lot of what we've built with grant funding. and I'm not ashamed. And I'm an advocate that if you can get it, it's laborious on reporting, but it's great bootstrapping resource. But we are now between then that 2019 about 2018 and about 2022, 23, short period of time, we got a lot of grant funding to build the product. That enabled us to be where we are right now. We have created so many jobs. At Kusini, we've got 22 full-time jobs. Or functional jobs. It's like 180 odd jobs that we've got running all of our different locations with one investor. Big chunk of that was because of the grant funding that we got.
Yeah.
And then what actually happened was that allowed us to be commercial. That allowed us to get to a point where we actually are commercial. For the first time, we're going to turn a profit this financial year. So a lot of what we needed to cover was covered by grant funding.
Yeah. You talked about just the process of building out the product and the kind of support that you needed to do it. What goes into the process of commercializing it? As everyone has an idea. It's great. It's amazing. You have an idea.
Yeah.
Now you've found the resources to execute on what that idea could become. But now you need to build a business around it.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that process of building a business around something like this? But also, what were you learning through that process of just like turning this thing that has impact, but also into a sustainable business?
Yeah. So in the States, obviously, different context to us. A lot of the guys figure out the idea, the market. They get some form of validation in product market fit, and then they raise money, and then they go out there and they make it happen. It's not so easy with us. So the process with us is you've got two options. One, reach that MVP, right? Get to a point where the product is viable, it can work, and you've got some idea, and then go raise a lot of money. If not, then don't rush into product market fit then in that case. So if you don't rush into commercialization in that case, because then that's when your product is never going to improve. You're always going to be constantly trying to catch up if you do that.
Yeah.
So then you must employ the Russ Henneman model. Russ Henneman was like, revenue, don't ever say revenue. Don't ever say revenue. You're either going to have to be proper revenue or no. And when I say revenue, I mean profit now in this case. Like profits, Russ Henneman was like, don't ever say that. Look at Jeff Bezos, 20 years or whatever amount of years that he said he's not going to turn a profit. And he told them up front. So we've got that option of saying, up front, build the product and build it proper. Yes, you need to validate your product market fit. You need to be able to get to a point where the product actually works and all of that stuff. But we tried too soon to be commercial in a product that was not great. So therefore, compromising the product, trying to fit into this commercial model. Grant funding helped us a lot to get to that point where we've got sufficient cash flow to reach the product market fit. But then the reason why it took so long was because we're trying to force this product into a market. Take time to get that product market fit. Take time to build the product well enough in order for you to be commercial. So with us, it took about 5 years or so to really get to a point where we understand fully our product market fit.
Yeah.
If we had raised a lot of money, it possibly could have been quicker, and that could have been an option. So raise a lot of money and then reach that point quicker, yes. But if not, then build deep relationships with your customers, deep relationships with your product and your team. Build deeper, more quality. If you can't get like a lot of money, build deeper. Once you build deeper, like Amazon, as soon as you understand your product, your product life cycle, you understand the cost of each product, you understand how you're going to reach your customer, you understand all of those. You've got the number, that rent value of reaching one customer. As soon as you've got that, then you scale. It's much easier to scale because the system is in place. You understand the customer, you understand who's supposed to be the team, you understand your warehousing, you understand your distribution. That either will take a long time if you don't have a lot of money, or could be quick if you've got a lot of money. We don't really get a lot of money in this country, so therefore it's much easier to just build as deep as you possibly can.
Yeah. You are in the sort of class of entrepreneurs that I believe are most important. Not that there is like a ranking, but I think social entrepreneurs and maybe impact entrepreneurs, not so much social, but impact-driven entrepreneurs who are building solutions that drive impact a lot more than they are trying to drive profit, even though they are sustainable businesses as well. Were you conscious that that's what you were doing? But also, what does it take to try and build a business this way versus the traditional just, I've got a product I want to sell, whatever. But now I want to solve a problem that changes lives and I want to build a business. Yeah.
And I think in Africa, in our context, especially in our continent, most of the startups will be social anyways, because we obviously have a lot of challenges that we're working through as a continent, that African solutions to African problems. I fully believe that. We need African solutions to African problems. Some of the problems that we face is access to clean water, access to good education, access to financial services. Most of the startups that are being built are solving a problem by nature. So whether you call yourself a social entrepreneur or not, that could be a secondary thing. But I truly believe that in order for us to truly solve the problem in a long term and a more sustainable manner, that problem needs, that solution needs to have within it, at the heart of it, the human beings that should solve that problem for. So both in a commercial way. So the problem that we're solving is one that can generate a lot of revenue, can generate a lot of profits, and increase our health outcomes. So have less waterborne diseases in our country, have less people that are collecting water instead of school or other things. Inherently, then it influences the business decisions that we make. So therefore, we can be more empathetic. We can be more walk the journeys of our users a lot more, of our clients, of our beneficiaries a lot more, because we understand that the problem that we're solving, yes, will generate a lot of revenue, will have commercial and profit value, but at the same time, we'll solve a deep problem that exists in our continent, and we can solve it in the long term. Obviously, many of us have been seeing like some of the solutions that have been driven. For example, the backpack desk, for example, that's one of a good example of a social enterprise that can solve a problem, but maybe might not have a great sort of empathetic outcome to it, which is that maybe you have not sort of walked the journey with literally walked the journey with the beneficiaries, and that's where maybe the challenge is, right? When we don't walk the journeys with our users. And to be honest with you, a lot of commercial companies, or what we call traditional companies, they understand users. Capitec is a good example of this. Capitec is not a social enterprise at all, but they understand the problems that people that they serve face on a daily basis, and they solve that problem for them. I mean, not many of us remember when banks used to close at 3 in the week when people at work and they didn't open on Saturdays and Sunday. Capitec was like, come on. There's a huge social impact, because someone who works in construction, they work hours, right? So they get paid for the hours. If they can't make it to the bank and they don't have financial inclusion, so therefore they can't access credit, for example, something that can help them to build their house, their home, or something that can help them to get the kids to school. But when the bank opens longer, it can have a positive impact. So Capitec does not consider themselves a social enterprise, but they're solving a real problem for real people. And that's because they've understood the journey of their customers or their users. And that's why they're doing so well.
Yeah. Would you say that is still primarily the job of entrepreneurs, is to go out into the world to find problems to solve, but also create opportunities for others, right? So, I mean, in your guys' model now, you have water champions. These are people who can now have their own kiosks and be able to distribute water in the best way with the solution that you guys have built. This is not just creating jobs, but now you're creating a business. You're creating opportunity and livelihood for people. Is our job to really solve problems, provide value, but also drive impact across the board, whether or not you are social or not?
Yeah, and that is good for business as well. Many people will tell you that also is good for profits. A lot of businesses, as we know from the township, businesses that employ people from that area are safer. They get less burglaries. Businesses that are more entrenched in the communities, that are more impactful in the communities, will have higher profits, especially in the context of places that we come from. So it's not just going to create livelihood for people from the location. It's not just going to create jobs for people from that location, it's going to secure our future as well. When I have more people using our systems as a result of us partnering with young people from the communities that we want to serve. Truth is, 1 billion people is a lot of people. We are not going to serve all those people. It's impossible that we solve that problem by ourselves. Best thing we can do is to bring along the communities in this. It's good for business. It's good for our mental health. It's good for our society that we live in. I don't remember who it was, and they were talking about one of this big business, and they were saying without us looking after the environment, without us taking care of the climate, without us looking after the planet that we're living in, we actually will be out of business. So it's good for business that we look after the environment. It's good for business that we look after people. I think it was the COO of Nedbank, if I'm not mistaken. And they were saying, we don't do this, because we think, we tick boxes, whatever, which is possible, but also it's good for our business. It's good for our business longevity. I think it was Grant Kelly, actually, one of the board members at Nedbank. So taking care of, I think entrepreneurs, the best entrepreneurs, and I've seen, like, if you look at all these other big entrepreneurs, are those that take care of themselves. They're like good at taking care of themselves, take care of their team, and take care of society and the communities that they serve. Apple might not seem like that, and I think they're one of them. Apple makes people feel good when they're holding that Apple product. When they
you feel like an artist. I know. Yes. I'm a creative because you're there sending emails.
When that light at the back is on,
but the light is on.
And part of that is like, okay, so now I feel like I'm in this space. So I think people that understand their users and the problem that they face are going to be the ones that are most successful. I think we have, and look, in our continent, the best leaders are the ones that are looking at solving problems that people face on a daily basis. And yes, they'll make a lot of money. We just saw the Capitec results come out now. We buy cars. I mean, a lot of people are angry that we buy cars, but they don't. We buy cars has made mobility. I'm not an advocate for we buy cars, but I'm just saying that their business model makes it easier for people to get cars. Right? A little bit easier for people to buy cars. Understanding that, doubling down, has helped them to now, turn a profit. The point is, it's not that big business is good or small business is good. The point is that solve an actual problem that someone is facing. In our case, it's a water problem. It just so happens that I worked in the water space, so that's the one space that I do know. In our case, is that we're solving this problem that millions of people face on a daily basis. And the idea is that we can be profitable doing it. We can drive a big impact doing it.
Yeah. You're talking about just the best entrepreneurs are the ones that take care of themselves and the people that are going along with them on this journey. What does taking care of yourself look like?
Yeah, so I'm a full subscriber and a believer in the idea of, love the full person, the full being, taking care of the full being, a full person, and not just a part of that person. Oftentimes we've got, programs that are supporting entrepreneurs that are like, no, we like your idea. But if that person is not well, it's pointless. For example, I go to therapy every week, 4 times a month. Part of me going to therapy is that this one part of me, so my mental health, is just as important as me going to gym. I go to gym 4 times a week. It's just as important as me sitting through meetings, physical meetings that I have to sit through. I'm going to attend to tribal council meetings or talking to my clients, right? So taking care of the person means, for me, the idea of this is take care of the full person, the full being. When you're designing programs, you're looking after the full person, the full being, taking care of your mental, physical, spiritual, in whatever form. That helps you to navigate. I mean, some people play games. I know like some of the tech entrepreneurs, they're big gamers, online gamers. And that's part of it, right? Like the brain is constantly being stimulated. And I find that a lot of what I've seen these days is that social media has taken over a big chunk of our lives, and it's created this person, this persona, that has deprived us of so many parts of of our being. And we've stopped taking care of so many parts of our being as a result. It's important that you as a founder, you take care of your being, your full being. And you as a person that's supporting founders, you do the same thing. You support the full person, not just a part.
You're very honest and blunt about like the struggles and the difficulties of what it takes to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
If you had to help someone contextualize what it would take for them to start and build something over 10 years plus.
Yeah, so I think understanding that the journey, so that even if it's growth, even if it's like a growth, that there's going to be like lows. There will be highs. I think the first part for me is understanding that what I'm building has merit. Understanding that what I'm building is important. What I'm building will be profitable. It will be economically viable. It will create the impact. Understanding that early on it might seem hard. There'll be days when I want to give up. And what I know as my levers, I need to set up levers that I need to pull. Things that I need to change, because you're constantly going to need to change. Hard decisions that we're going to need to make. That's all going to exist. Often that might exist. All 10 things might exist in one day, in 1 hour. 1 hour, you might be thinking, oh, I'm done. This is it. This is done. And then next thing, you get an email that says, oh, you're not. Or you have to change something immediately. Right now, one of the things that I'm truly challenging myself on is stop being overly empathetic. So ruinous empathy, for example, that's all going to be part of it. Is waking up and realizing that I can't solve all problems for all people. That's waking up one day and knowing that there's going to be a problem that I can't solve for someone. Same time, there's going to be some problems that I can solve for some people, knowing when to pull that lever. In the 10 years, you're going to live 10 years in 10 minutes. You're going to live 10 years in 10 days. Someone says it takes 10 years to get to overnight success. That overnight success is going to be low lows, very high highs. Take care of yourself. Take care of your mental health, spiritual health. Get people that are honest with you to be a part of your levers. So sometimes you're going to have to make that decision that actually it's not working in that 10 years in order to get there. So sometimes, give up and not give up, but change. Don't be resistant to change. It's because it's not going to be easy. From product development, commercialization to scale, those are all different stages, different skill sets, it requires different parts of us in that entire time. You have the levers, put in place the levers. Sometimes it's people. Sometimes it's cash. Sometimes it's like, oh, I've stopped talking to my wife, or I've stopped talking to my girlfriend. Sometimes it's I'm just getting too sick too often. Put in those levers in that time, because it's not going to be easy. There's going to be ups and downs. And back then we used to have better communities. Join communities as well. Have communities. I mean, now I'm more in a church community than I am in the startup community. That's part of my spiritual. What's the word? My spiritual
maturity.
I guess maturity. Yeah.
How important have people been to this part of the journey where you have the difficult moments and you can pull the lever to say, hey, I'm not in a good space.
Yeah.
What does it look like to get the right support?
Yeah.
How do you have those conversations?
Yeah. So for me, it's different people for different things, because we all have friends, colleagues, acquaintances, and all that. It's important to know that over the years, over 10 years, you might lose some relationships and some people, but if you build deeper earlier, you're going to have good resources later on. So there's people that I know right now, partners that I've been with for the last 5 years, funders that I've been with for the last 5 years, clients that I've been with for the last 5 years. So first and foremost, the first step would be to build deep relationships. And those relationships need to be able to not just give you should be able to give into them as well, a part of yourself into those relationships. So people that are your honest people, your cheerleaders, your spiritual guides, it helps. So for me, it takes a huge community. I used to have this insecurity or this complex that I'm not a nice person, a huge complex for a long time. That I'm not a nice person. So I started making a conscious effort to be a good community member to my people, that I'm dependable. In return, I'm hoping that also I can have dependable people as well in my life. So building relationships that are built on, I'm a good person, I'm going to do good, and I know that the people that are on the other side in this relationship are also good people that are going to do good as well. So partners, like life partners, cheerleaders, friends, pastors maybe, or yoga teacher, gym instructor, whatever. You have those category of people, and know that you're not going to just receive, you're going to pour out. Same time, you can pour out of an empty cup, ensuring that your cup gets filled up. Know your levers in that as well. And know that you will never be able to live by yourself. It's just impossible. It's just going to be too much of a burden. So be it spiritual, be it church or sports for some people. I love sports. Manchester United breaks my heart every day. So I'm going to stop that. And Ferrari too.
That is protecting your mental health, is not supporting.
It used to be supporting my mental health when Sir Alex was there. Now. So it's going to take understanding that build deep relationships. And in those deep relationships, especially in the startup space, because it's lonely, it gets lonely. In those deep relationships, you will have people that will be partners with you on different, or like you can feed off at different times. There's some people that I'm like good friends with. I know that it's a Friday. I'm feeling really good. I want to go out. I know this friend is going to be there. I'm just going to call them like, dude, I want to go out. We're going to celebrate. I know this person is there, for example. And I know that there's some friends that I don't talk to for weeks. I don't know, when I pick up my phone and I call them, we're still just as good. And those are the kind of people that will make the journey easier.
Yeah. I had a question.
Damn.
Were there specific were there some values, or are there some values that have really served you throughout this journey for as long as you have kept with it?
Ooh, wow, that's a powerful question, because I realized that people define values in such different ways, especially as in the system, in the like current sort of Christian, because how we grew up was very Christian. We obviously had Christian values put upon us, and we were like, okay, whoever gave us these values, sure, we'll live by them. Great. And then I realized later on that actually the best values is those that you yourself commit to, yourself buy into. And some of the major thing for me is the ability to, number one, be good, to be like because often we judge ourselves by our intentions, right? So one of the values that I always look at is like, do good and have show that goodness on a daily basis. So dependability, goodness. Yesterday I got an email from someone saying, we've got an award for non-corrupt leaders. So we want to give you an award for your tenacity towards non-corruption. And one of the things that I always used to think about is that there's so many shortcuts that I could have taken, so many earlier, that I chose not to take. And that's why I don't do like work with government, for example. Goodness and good is obviously like loose, and that's why I was talking about Christianity, because good in some cases is like very loose. But in your goodness, there's decisions that you're gonna have to make in your private space where no one can see, and that will determine a lot of things. So be good, like work on what creates the things that create goodness in you, and show that, make other people be dependent on you, not dependent on you, make it in such a way that you can be dependable to everybody, to anyone. Those are some of the things that I've really tried to live up to. I realized early on that most of my friends, I've got very few friends. I've had them most of my life for a long time. And that's something that I've tried to keep. I was thinking about, I don't know that actor's name. I don't know his name, to be honest with you. He said his debit card, his ex-wife has this debit card. She uses it whenever she needs it. It's like, why? No, this lady was with me when I didn't have tin fish. Yeah, I'm just exaggerating. This lady was with me when I didn't have anything. Now that I've made it, why is she not benefiting from me making it, right? And one of the things that I've noticed is that, make it or not, but it's those people, it's those friends that I was with, like when, in those times that make me the person that I am, and deserting them or, upgrading them. That's why I'm stuck with Manchester United. Because of that. A good person, loyal to the core. And I'm sure it's the same thing with you Arsenal supporters.
The most loyal of all.
Exactly. It's that, yeah.
What would you say entrepreneurship has given you? But on the other side, what has entrepreneurship taken?
It's given me community. I think it's given me, a huge part of the way in which I live right now is through entrepreneurship. The things that I can provide for my family is through entrepreneurship. The things that I can, I was sitting, and this is probably going to sound very braggy, so I hope it doesn't. I was sitting in a private jet one time. It was owned by the Red Bull founder. And I was sitting there, and I was thinking to myself, I'm from the dusty streets of Shandima. Not in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine this. That's a physical thing. You walk up and you're like, I am sitting in this jet. I'm flying over the Alps, the Austrian Alps. And it was like beyond comprehension. I've been to 30 countries. I was working in New York City, and I kept saying, I believe I'm in New York. I can't believe I'm in New York. And entrepreneurship has given me that, given me the ability to meet great people. There's a friend of mine in Malawi called Muti. Amazing guy. I've met great people. Our partners, Barry Siegel, he recently passed on. He's like inspired me so much. It's given me access to so many amazing people. I've seen so many amazing places, and it's taken away my sense of good night. It's taken away my sense of, I can just exist and everything is going to be okay because my salary is going to come month end. It's taken away that, given me stress and headache as well. Now everything is like, you have to wake up and you know that everything is on your shoulders. It's taken away my peace and not my peace, but more, it's taken away that sense of security and that, that whatever happens, the salary is going to come month end.
What is one thing that you know now that you wish you knew at the beginning of your journey?
Yeah, one thing I wish I knew then was that this too shall pass, right? And I think a lot of people know that in a very theoretical way. Difficult times will always be there. It's better if you make hard decisions now than just wait them out, because this too shall pass. So if you have to fire someone, which I struggled with, I struggle to fire people because I'm like, oh, she's a single mother. He's a single dad. His family depends on him. But it's costing the business a lot of money. Make that decision now, because that too shall pass. Even for them, for the other person, maybe doing them, like, make hard decisions early, because it's going to cost you a lot if you don't. And just like for the other person, that too shall pass. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult, but that too shall pass.
Yeah.
So make that hard decision.
Yeah. From the dusty streets of Shandima to the private jets to Rosebank. And the incredible future, man. I appreciate the candor with which you navigate your entrepreneurship journey and be honest about what it takes, but also what it gives, and how people should take care of themselves in this journey. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing this moment with me.
Thanks so much, my brother. I've been looking forward to this day for a long time. I wish it was happening last week before Manchester United broke my heart. I've been looking forward to this day for a long time. Thank you.
We're going to do this again.
Yeah.
In 5 years, in 10 years.
Yeah, please.
Because I think like your journey is one that I'm invested in, and I want to see it like to the fullest.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
Sure.